Hi, we're Option Conservation, and this is the Shoe Room Sessions.
The more our podcast is reaching a wider audience, we thought it would be very niche, and we were happy with that. The Last Salmon. I mean, but because actually the salmon represents, it's a keystone species, it represents so much more than just itself. It is the barometer of the health of rivers and the ocean.
Have we got a picture of this tattoo, by the way? Fly rod on the arm. That
Fly
is
rod on the
absolute
arm.
class.
John's gonna be very
Yeah.
My favorite. This is my favorite rod that I've caught all my.
It wraps around. That's
It wraps
very
around.
nice.
Yeah, look at that. It's got a little fly. I love. Thank you.
I keep
Noticing
threatening
that.
to get the OC logo on here, but my wife is very anti-tattoo. She's not impressed with this one, which is why it's.
Did you have that done before you met her?
So I had most of it done before I met her, and then I got quite a bit bigger. So I had to have a few more pieces because it didn't connect up anymore. So she was okay with that.
Maybe you've been pumping iron and it stretched the tattoo.
A little, yeah.
That's brilliant.
And so I need another piece back here now. But so I want it filled in with a various and she's like, nope. Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should probably tell people who you are and what you do.
So I am Jim Murray. I am an actor by trade, but to keep myself out of trouble between jobs when I'm resting, I am an artist, and I'm also an activist and conservationist for wild fish and rivers. I mean, I want to say British rivers, but all rivers really. I just happen to live in England, so I focus on British rivers. And I also run or co-run a children's mental health charity with my wife. So I wear a lot of hats and try and keep as many plates spinning as possible. That's what I do.
Where did it start? How did you get to all those various hats? Take us right back to childhood and bring us through.
There was never a master plan. It would be a really.
I don't think anyone's got one.
It's a futile
People
master
lie.
plan.
They make it up retrospectively, except maybe engineers or doctors who have such a structured.
Yeah.
Everyone else just changes.
And do you remember at school where you had those meetings about your career, those career advisors, and they try and instill in children's heads and teenagers' heads, you've got to have a goal and you've got to decide what you want to do now. I think that's absolute bullshit, and I think that's a terrible, terrible thing to do.
My joke back is I haven't decided what I want to do when I grow
No,
up.
I haven't. I'm still growing up.
Yeah.
It started, I suppose. So let's sort of dissect it a little bit and piecemeal it. So the acting, I decided I wanted to be an actor. I think not until very late on, 1920. I tried university twice and failed, and much preferred working and earning money. So I was living in Manchester. It was at the time of the hacienda and cream. This isn't particularly conservationist or environmental.
The vast majority of our stuff isn't. It's life and business.
It's
and
life.
culture and
Oh,
everything.
great.
So it's
Okay, so
nothing.
just jump in if I'm going off piece. But
What did you start doing at uni?
I started doing retail marketing.
Excellent.
I went to 2 lectures and I went, no. This
And
is.
what did your folks do, career-wise?
So my dad was an engineer in Manchester.
Solid, logical, sensible career.
Solid, dependable, secure career.
Yep.
If you worked hard, you got rewarded. That was the way of the 80s. And my mother ran a cattery, which, if you don't know, is a you probably do know what cattery is.
Yeah.
Lots of people don't. It's like a dog kennels, but for cats. So very modern, progressive in as much as both parents working, especially for the North back then. So yeah.
So retail marketing degree number 1. What was attempt number 2?
Number 2 was the one I stuck with, but I took 2 years out in the end because I was enjoying earning money. I was working in a clothes shop. I was working in Ted Baker in Manchester, so it wasn't the most challenging role, but I love meeting people and I love people watching. So I would just sort of forget that I was meant to go up to somebody and go, "Can I help you with that?" And I just sort of watch them browse, and I thought I quite liked this, so I went to acting night school in Manchester. That's what I did. And then I finally applied for university when the parents finally found out. After 24 months of blagging it.
And what was Manchester like in that period? Was that because exciting time?
Incredible. I was so lucky, especially in hindsight. The 90s, the early 90s, the mid to late 90s in Manchester was the Hacienda, there was Cream in Liverpool, bands like Oasis
Fucking love Oasis.
were just coming up. So to be at the center of all that without realizing that you were, at the nucleus of Manchester was brilliant. And it's never been the same since, I don't think. Now it's been somewhat gentrified. There was an edge to Manchester back then that is still there, but not nearly as much.
There's a cycle to every, or a wave to every form of growth and life, and being able to rise it on that up limb and enjoy it before it peaks and over, that's really special if you can be there for one of those periods.
I was, and I do want to call it a little epoch in time in the Northwest that I don't think has been met since or anywhere else. I mean, the 90s were the last hedonistic decade, really, weren't they? The years of Blair, and we weren't too worried about climate change.
I was just thinking about that the other day. So him walking into Downing Street carrying his guitar case is like just such an absolute. So he walked in jeans and a t-shirt carrying a guitar case.
Yeah.
After John Major, like the quintessential Tory.
Yeah.
So they walked, and like, he walked out, and Tony Blair, who was like cool Britannia, and his first thing he had like Oasis come and do like a dinner with him and stuff, and it was
He did, and they went.
Yeah.
They went and sipped champagne and did cocaine in the toilets, allegedly, in Number 10. And that was the decade. That was the decade that we all miss greatly.
What made you walk into acting school for the first time?
It's a really good question. I love film. I always loved film.
Favorite film?
Jaws.
Okay, interesting.
Undoubtedly.
Because
it's a perfect film. Jaws was 50 this weekend. Did you know?
I did not. When you talk to Dan about this, he'll go, wrong answer, it's Carlito's Way.
Carlito's Way.
And I'll let him debate that with
definitely in the top 10. But Jaws is, it's a perfect film. The narrative, the performance, the filmmaking skills, the cinematography, the use of not seeing the shark because the shark didn't work, and
the lead character doesn't appear until
the lead character doesn't appear. So all that suspense, waiting for it. It's just a fantastic film, and I started making my daughter watch it from the age of 4, which probably was a bad idea. Because
how did your wife respond to that?
She didn't know. She'd be in bed.
There's a pattern here of you not telling people things, isn't there? When you know you're going to get in trouble.
She'd be getting over a hangover, and I go, let's just watch Jaws just one more time, see if we can get to the end.
The most I get with that is I travel a lot, go home, and then I hit what I call the divorced dad phase at a weekend. So I just say yes to everything. Can we have extra ice cream on these pancakes? Dad? Yeah, it's fine, absolutely. My wife will get out of bed and be like, have they had ice cream? Yeah, they have. Yeah. And I'll rock in the gym, and they're wired for the rest of the day.
So you drop the hand grenade and run. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's good. So we're walking to acting school.
So acting school. Acting school was night school in Manchester because there wasn't. At that time, there were some fantastic acting courses, but I didn't, because I started late, I didn't apply in time. So I did history of film instead as a degree, which I loved because I love history and I love film. And there was this pioneering new course. And I did the practical side of acting and script writing on the side. And then I started getting work up there, bits and bobs, extra work. A few episodes of all there was in the 90s in Manchester was Coronation Street, or a show called The Grand, which was a Russell T Davies was writing on. And I was an extra on one of them. And I got a few episodes of Corrie. It was my first telly gig. And then I went and I shit myself because it was a soap opera and everything's very quick. And it didn't feel particularly creative for an ideological young actor. So I thought, well, maybe this isn't me after all, because I was terrible in it. And I remember...
Did you know you were terrible at the time?
Yeah, because I remember walking into the Rovers and you don't get any rehearsal time and you just get processed through makeup and then you just get, there you go, action. And I remember walking on and I remember being really scared and seeing all these familiar faces that we'd grown up with. And I think his name was Bill Tarmy. He played Jack, the guy behind the bar, Jack and Vera.
Wow, that's a throwback.
And my character, they'd hired me to come in as a barman for a couple of episodes, cause some issues, and then I get sacked. Great. And I walked on and I said my line. I think the line was, Jack said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm here for the new job." And that was it. And it's and I said my line, and it was cut. And the sort of director looked at me like that and gave me a very disparaging look. And Bill said, "You're shaking like a leaf, son." And I said, "Oh, am I?" And he went, "You need to stop shaking. You'll see it on camera," which is the worst thing you should probably say to an actor who's shitting himself.
Yeah.
So I got through that day and I thought, no, never again. This TV stuff's too scary, man. The lights and the speed of it all and the sort of, I wasn't made to feel hugely welcome, but it was probably because I was terrible. And then
I don't know, I think that's a sign of the times, though, isn't it? Because I think
maybe
now I can only apply it from other sectors that I've worked in. But now someone would recognise that because they've been in that position.
They
They'd
would
be like, do you know what? Take a breath. The Bill character would have said, "I was the same, son.
Yeah.
Don't you worry, it'll be fine."
He would, but I think it was tough love.
Yeah.
It was a northern tough love, and it didn't work.
See, the North is tough. They don't believe me when I tell people this.
But they're probably thinking Watford, not Manchester.
Elle's nodding. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Someone described Warwickshire as the North to me the other day. They went somewhere up north near Warwickshire. Anyway, so then I thought, right, I need to go and learn how to do this properly. So I went to London to RADA because I'd heard of RADA and nowhere else, and I applied to RADA, and I ended up doing an intensive Shakespeare course at RADA, which I really enjoyed because it was quite cerebral, but also you got to use all the fantastic facilities and resources that RADA had to offer over, I think it was about a 5-6 month period.
What does that mean to people? Explain what facilities we're talking about.
So the facilities are, you obviously have fantastic studios, resources and spaces, but resources wise, you have the best movement coaches, you have the best voice coaches, the best acting coaches, the best sword fighting coaches, for the sake of example, and you're surrounded by brilliant actors and everything in the world. If you're surrounded by people that are good at something, it tends to raise your game.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. And then once I was in London, agents come and watch these showcases that you put on out of RADA, as they do if you've done a 3-year course or 1-year course or a 6-month course in my case. And I was very lucky, and someone seemed to dig my stuff, and I got an agent, and then it...
What does the word lucky mean to you?
What does the word lucky mean to me? That's a good question. I think the word lucky in the context that I've just used it is me being horribly British and self-deprecating and probably performatively humble. But I think actually what lucky means is you put in the work in whatever walk of life, and you've worked really hard, and that gets recognized in some way, shape or form and or rewarded. And that's not always the case, especially in the current climate.
In life.
In life.
You ever seen the movie The Prestige?
Yes.
Ben loves it and made me watch it
Good
again
movie.
recently.
Good movie.
I have the same relationship with the word luck as the wives have with the switching out Christian Bale characters. Because I say the same line, I was very lucky. And sometimes I mean it. Sometimes it feels really disingenuous.
Yeah.
Because shitty childhood, rough background, first to finish school in my family, never mind uni, tough background.
Yeah.
Worked my ass off
Yep.
for everything. No one's given me a thing other than my current investment group who've given me an amazing opportunity to thank you all. However, I was also very lucky every step of the way. Both things are true. Sometimes you say, look, it feels like you're not recognizing the fact that it was 20-hour days.
Yeah.
And everything compounds in life.
Yeah.
The good decisions compound and so do the bad ones. And they
Right.
keep turning up compounds. So sometimes I think luck feels like the right answer and sometimes I don't. I read an amazing book by, to explain the reference to people about Prestige. There's two twin brothers who live one life and switch out. So when they say they love their wife, the wife sometimes say, you don't mean it today. And you do another day.
Yeah.
Read a book called Thinking in Bets by Annie Jukes, who's like
Thinking
in Bets.
In bets.
Yeah, so professional poker player who was a clinical psychologist, dropped out of her PhD to go play poker when she was like the only female poker player, ended up playing at a world championship level because she was reading the psychology in people. So the thing that we all estimate is every single decision, the outcome is a huge percentage luck. Every single one. But we don't want to recognize it and believe that. So that's made it look feel much more authentic to me because I'm like, every single decision, you can make the best decision, the result has nothing to do with that decision often. It's total luck. Like you could have done the best performance of your life on a day no agent turned up. You could have done a bang half average performance in an agency, something and you fly. You don't know which one of those two it was.
No.
So that's why I have a weird relationship with luck.
I'm right to use the word luck then.
You are, yeah. I tried playing with fortunate for a while because that.
Fortunate, because
Yeah.
luck is too generic. And it is this British thing that we have, and it's a shame. I think it's okay to have the self-deprecation and the sometimes pseudo-humility that the Brits use, but what we've lost to counter it is also a vehement pride in what we do.
When you were at RADA, a cohort of you going through that course at the
Yeah.
same time, when you looked around the room,
Yeah.
did you know who was good and who
Yeah.
wasn't?
And I did, and I know, and the one that I thought was really good has gone on to become a big famous Hollywood star.
Yeah.
So
But you could tell straight away.
well, we started seeing each other, so it's probably a bit biased. But
Okay.
yes, yeah, I could tell straight away. She was. It's Lake Bell. She was so brilliant and so inspiring, and the teachers teamed us up together. And I was lucky to have somebody with such raw talent, and
There's
not just. Well,
You meant that one,
that
didn't
was
you?
lucky.
I know, you can tell. I didn't.
That was lucky.
That was interesting.
Because literally, the teacher just go, the coach just go, the teacher just goes, you. It's like picking a football side at school. You,
Yeah.
you and you, you and you.
One of my rules in business.
It's like being in an audition.
One of my rules in business is everybody knows. So if you have people who are clever enough, and that can be IQ, but mainly EQ, everybody knows. So if you're in a business or if you're in a team, whatever it is, you know the people who are really fucking good. You know the ones that work hard, the ones that don't. You know
Yeah.
the one that's like, everybody knows. But in corporate businesses, they just pretend no one does. They just act like, oh, no, everyone does it. And you're like, but we all fucking know. Like, you know, that person does not, everyone
Or do you
knows.
just think you're a really good reader of people?
So I think two things can be true, right? So one of the benefits I had from a crappy childhood was if I walked into a room and I read the room wrong, I got hit. Pretty quick way to read the room right.
Yeah.
So I can walk into a room now and have a pretty good sense of what most people are feeling in the room. So superpower from crappy childhood. But lots of people who are intelligent enough can see that to a degree.
Right.
Like you can see if someone's having a 1 day or a 10 day,
Yeah.
whereas I can probably see whether they're having a 4 or an 8. So it's narrows the bandwidth. And also my middle brother has Down syndrome and struggles to communicate. So I spent a lot of years noticing nuance. So like body language and adjustment of something to what he needed.
interesting.
So I think in life, if you notice things, you pick up skills that you don't even know you've got. Most of my summer jobs at uni are on building sites, power stations, oil refineries. I remember like using information when we bought an estate for things that an engineer said to me 20 years ago that
was really important.
Now that bit's real. My memory's luck. I can take no credit for my memory. Yes, I work
Have you got
hard in reading.
photographic memory?
It's not photographic. It's more eidetic, so words and language. So if we have a conversation, I didn't figure this out until third year at uni, when I fumbled through lectures and realised if I turned up, I could just recite it back to them. So third year, I can't do that now because it's too much. I like the attic.
Too much on the hard drive.
Yeah, I like the attic theory of memory. There's a limit to the capacity.
Yeah.
If you put more in, you've got to kick it out.
Yeah.
So take us on from RADA.
RADA, where did I go after RADA? Yeah, I just started working. This was the early noughties by now.
Did you enjoy London straight away when you moved down?
Yeah. Did I enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did, because it was. I didn't. No, that's a lie. I didn't enjoy it straight away because it's very expensive, and to enjoy London, you've got to have money.
Literally having that conversation yesterday. The ideal framing was you need to be young, single, and wealthy.
Yeah, and I was young and single, but not wealthy. So I was working odd jobs to pay for living. And it was a struggle. But as a young actor, you're full of hope and full of self-belief, and it's a matter of when, not if. So I wasn't ever. I mean, looking back, it was risky, but I was a risk taker, especially back then. So it took a while, as in. It was a while, relatively, when you're young. It took about 6 to 12 months before I started making a living out of acting. And when I started making a living...
I mean, there's thousands that never do, right?
Thousands. 2% at any one time are working, I'm told, as a stat. And out of those 2%, there's literally 30% making enough money to live. And then of that, there's only 2% that are like, everyone thinks actors are, are hugely wealthy. But I was making good money. I was single. I didn't have any responsibilities, and I was living with friends. And I had money for a nice car, a motorbike is what I used to spend my money on. Going away, and then I discovered fishing. Thankfully, because that wasn't too expensive at the time.
How does one go from acting in London to discovering? And was it fly straight away?
Yeah, because I used to fish as a kid, and I was living in London, and I grew up rurally.
Whereabouts was home?
So it was Manchester to begin with, but then it was Herefordshire. We moved. With someone else from Herefordshire. Whereabouts?
Bromyard.
Oh, I know Bromyard.
Whereabouts are you?
So between Hereford and Leominster on the A49, Dinmore.
Very close.
Yeah, pretty close.
Very, very close. Like,
You don't sound like you're from Hereford. Neither do I.
no, it's true.
It's something that you work on pretty quickly. I was
Fee's going to be listening to this offended. So our property director's from Herefordshire.
sorry, Fee,
Yeah.
but I want to go back. I do go back from time to time, and I love it. And I could see myself moving back to Hereford. I think it's beautiful, and it's become quite sort of Froome-esque. You know, it's the new Knotswolds, I think, in many respects.
Knotswolds.
But
Very good.
But Hereford, we were really rural, as you will testify. It's apart from Hereford, the city itself, it's incredibly rural and agricultural, and I fell in love with the rural life. And so when I was working and living in London, I'd get claustrophobic and I'd want to get out. And a friend said to me, who was from North Wales, place called Abersoch, he said, you can fly fish in London in Kew, not too far out. There's these lakes called Sion. It's a place called Sion Park, and there are 3 lakes, stock trout. And so I got on my motorbike, got my rod, rode out there. It only took about 15-20 minutes on the bike, and suddenly, apart from the Heathrow path that you're under, you're in a beautiful landscape designed by Capability Brown. These incredible lakes, big, stately home, full of stock trout. So I would go there with various girlfriends and friends. Like, I've just found this gem, and it sort of grew from there. And then he said, "There's these things called salmon, and they're like trout but bigger." And they're wild, and they're elusive and mystical and romantic, and they're in Scotland and further afield. And do you want to come and try for those? And ever since that was sort of 20 years ago, I didn't look back. It was the salmon all the way from me, because they are all those things that I've just said.
So keep taking us through the contents page of the chapters. So discovered fly fishing, the acting career's going well, still single at this point.
Yeah, well, ish. I was
yourself.
dabbling in relationships.
Excellent. Next part
was where are we now? So we're in the noughties, working, establishing myself as an actor.
some favourite jobs through that period?
Yeah.
Things you particularly enjoyed?
What did we do in that period? I spent a lot of my young career playing Northerners, which doesn't happen much anymore, because they get Northerners, regional actors they call them, or I think they still do, to play regional roles, right? And probably rightly so, if you're looking for that authenticity. But for some reason, because I could do a Northern accent, and because I'd spent a lot of time in Manchester, and once you do one style of or one type of character, you get a bit typecast, certainly in your younger years, unless you keep a real eye on it, or your agent does. And I was very happy playing mostly psychologically challenged, should we say, characters from the Northwest. And I loved it. And I was in things like Clocking Off, and there was a show called North Square, which was a brilliant legal drama on Channel 4, which was very pioneering at the time. And then I went into Cutting It, which was a sort of quirky northern-based drama. God, I did all sorts of things up in Manchester, and did for about 10 years or so. And then I started getting cast in things in America and
So prior
Canada.
to the US chapter, did you have a criteria for this? Are you at a point in your career where you're saying yes to every role that comes through, or do you have a criteria for how you would decide if a role was right for you?
So you with your agent, you try and sort of sort the wheat from the chaff. And by chaff, I don't mean sometimes the rubbish stuff, or what you perceive as rubbish, but more often than not, something that you might excel at and probably would further your career, become strategic, still is, but to a lesser extent now, but certainly back then.
The nature of the question is, I think, people don't say enough no's. So I like the idea that in your career you have to work your butt off until you get the right to say no.
Yeah.
Be it profile, finance, experience, whatever it is.
Correct.
But then you have to be really selective.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you can spend a lot of time and energy. Certainly when you're leading a business, you could be a very busy idiot.
Yeah.
You could do loads of things that don't move the needle, don't add value. There's people who, in my sector, who just professionally go to meeting after meeting on the circuit. And I'm like, I am never fucking doing that.
No.
What have
That's
you
what sets you
achieved?
apart.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Just sounds horrific. So I think being really good at saying no and cutting out the things that don't add value, don't progress something, is so important.
The one of the biggest powers that an actor can have is to say no. Because the business side of this game is run on, never more so than now, desperation and fear and fashion culture-led zeitgeist, which is anti-creative a lot of the time. And a lot of the time, an actor will be either offered a role or else audition for a role, or be given the opportunity to audition for a role. And they know that they've got you by the balls because you're desperate to work, because that's the one thing you can't control as an actor is the amount you work, unless you're very lucky and you're constantly being offered things. But that's the magic carpet.
I always remember
ride.
the quote about Daniel Day-Lewis that the assumption was he'd say no to everything, and they used to have to send whoever the sort of co-leading person was to try and persuade them.
Yeah, I think that happened.
For Gangs of New York, apparently
They sent Scorsese and
Leonardo
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio, to ask him to do it,
But
and he just shut the door and went no.
Yeah, but that happens. If you want somebody of that magnitude and that whose stock is that high, and they're predisposed to turning things down because they're often flirting with the idea of never doing it again. Yeah, you send in the big guns.
I'm not comparing our director of Natural Capital, Chris, to Daniel Day-Lewis.
He might like that if you did.
And it does fit. So he's the genius in the team, like absolute straight A-star student forever, first from Oxbridge, kind of invented the economics of our sector. And part of our thinking around what we do is we say no to every partnership. It's like, no. We're very, very selective about who we'll work with, which was why we were able to charge this premium for our carbon products, because we've said 99 no's.
That's great.
And everyone else is falling over themselves to make it cheaper. Everyone wants to scale things to globalization so that it's a commodity and it's cheaper. I suppose that's what's happening in the acting world as well. Yeah. Everyone will do it at the lowest possible price, just get it done.
Yeah.
That doesn't help anyone.
It does. It's anti-creative.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is. And anti-quality.
Same thing in our game. I would hazard a guess, or I would certainly, I would stand by that.
No, it is, yeah.
In the last 5 years since the streamers have taken over, and Wall Street has become ever more a controlling lever in our game. It's become increasingly about the bottom line, and that is anti-creative, and that is anti-artistic.
Is the streamer to the professional actor the poster to the oil painting? Is it just the repeated standard? Like it's a version of it, but it's not the real thing. It's not the texture, the depth, the quality,
of what?
So
what's the oil painting?
As a form of art. So you've got
but what's in this metaphor? Were you talking about like a well-made independent film, a decent piece of long-form television, a great play?
It's a spectrum. It's not one
there's
thing.
there's a whole palette of what is considered art in the world of film, television, and theatre.
And is film considered the zeitgeist, still the pinnacle, or is television and streaming still is that now on a par?
No, what I think for me, and what most actors will tell you, it doesn't really matter what the medium is. It all starts with the script, and if the writing is good, especially nowadays, whether it's long-form television, whether it's a movie, whether it's more often than not, plays are well written, right? It's a writer's medium.
It seems that the play seems the purest, the romanticised, the test cricket of cricket is the play.
Yeah, a play is a writer's medium. First and foremost, if you think about it, it's very simple. You have the writer, you have the director, and the actor. Of course, you have the crew. Very important in that equation. But there is no pressure from technicalities like there are in film and television. So a writer can write a one-off play without having to worry about sequels or episode 7 or character arcs that expand that have to work over 20 hours or more. And a play is a very finished jewel that is polished and ready to serve up. And if it's written well, then it's a joy. That's why every actor loves working on a play. From a purely acting point of view, you get huge rehearsal time. You know that the writer has really spent a long time, more often than not, drafting these characters to serve the story. And you get to do it live. So there is no constraints of the light didn't work, or we didn't get that line.
Is there more excitement and energy in the live performance?
Way more. There's so much more at stake. Obviously, you can't really fuck up, or you can, but you're the one that's gonna look an ass. You can't go again. You've got to be there and in the moment for that 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever.
But do you always like that pressure?
Well, here's the thing. I talk like I've done lots of theatre. I haven't. I used to do more theatre when I was a younger actor, but not the problem with theatre, but the thing about theatre is, like everything in this game, you tend to get a little bit typecast. And once you spend a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 goes by that you haven't done theatre, you tend to get overlooked, or the casting directors don't put you in that stable. So your agent has to work a little bit harder to get you seen for a decent theatre role. And more importantly, theatre doesn't pay very well. And when you have responsibilities like I do, and like most people do, whether it be children or mortgages or whatever it is as you go through life, to carve out 3-4 months of the year to do a play can be very detrimental to your income, especially in a profession that you don't know what's coming next.
It segues beautifully into you starting to think and look internationally and getting roles that required you to travel and spend time in the US.
Yeah, absolutely. And that used to be a pretty lucrative channel to market. If you could work in the States or out of Hollywood, if I'm being glib, then you probably got remunerated for it way more so than you did in the UK. And the actors, or whether it was genuine or not, kind of didn't matter, but you got more say in your performance. A lot of the time you got a bit more time, and time is so important that and so rare on a set.
I think it's rare in every arena.
Yeah.
So when you're in a very senior role in a business, it's actually the thing that you have the least of. So I remember hearing Bill Gates, nothing ran a second behind or late in his calendar, because he said it's the only thing I can't buy. I can buy anything else, literally. And it's right. And the information you take in, the access you give to other people. I mean, I meet with our sort of lead investor every fortnight in person to walk. It's a real privilege to have that time, because that person could be anywhere in the world doing whatever they wanted, and they want to give that time away. And I think we all need to be a bit more purposeful with how we use time.
I think so. I think we all squander time because we think it's never ending, and we never understand that every moment that goes by we'll never get again.
Opportunity cost.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, time. The American TV and film industry gives more time. And there is more time to make a show, perhaps. There's more money. The production levels and values are much higher.
Did you live out there for an extended period, or was it just across for individual jobs?
Across for individual jobs. Okay. A lot of actors do go out, and some of them are my friends, and I could just, never do that, because LA, from an actor's point of view, at a certain level, if you're a jobbing actor, like I am, it's fraught with desperation and anxiety.
I don't like LA.
And it's saturated.
It's like an expensive Cleethorpes. It is though, right? Like, I really like San Diego. I love the US.
Expensive Cleethorpes. Yeah.
Just like Santa Monica Pier with it's just like Cleethorpes Pier with loads of homeless people.
It is, but
warmer.
Actually.
Sorry, an expensive, warmer Cleethorpes.
You get a tan.
Yeah.
No, LA. There were some fun parts of LA, and I like leaving LA and going out into the sort of the countryside of America. And America's got so much to offer, so much variety. I do love the States, but there was something about Los Angeles that I just found very fraught. And everyone's sort of looking over their shoulder who might be in the restaurant or the bar, and how are you getting on? You're working at the moment, but it's not a genuine concern. It's
Are you doing better than me?
are you doing better than me? And it was quite overwhelming, really. But I was lucky. I wasn't lucky. I played to my strengths and got rewarded. And I got offered roles in pilots, which were first episodes of series, and if they did well, they get picked to be funded and made into TV shows. And I did a few of those, and pretty much all of them got picked up.
Some favourites?
I loved the show. I loved the show. Two shows that I loved, which you probably didn't. Most of the shows I loved doing, nobody really. They never really become big hits. But from an actor point of view, I loved doing them. One was a show called Chaos, which was an acronym that I can't remember. But it was to do with the CIA.
Can we check that one, please?
Chaos was a CBS show, and it was myself, Tim Blake Nelson, Freddie Rodriguez, and Eric Close, and we were four wayward CIA agents that were.
And were you playing a British part?
No, I was playing a Scot. It was very odd. I was playing a Scot, and I remember you do these really high pressure table reads in front of all the TV execs and studio heads before you start shooting because they want to sort of hear it. And I remember at the end, the head of Fox came up to me and said, "Great Irish accent, man. Great Irish accent." I said, "Scottish." He goes, "Yeah, I know. Same. Just walked on. Oh, okay. That's, good job you're not in a position of creative power, isn't it?" So yeah, that was the kind of thing you dealt with in LA. But besides that, it was great. It was gave me enough money to to buy a flat, to get going on the property ladder.
Was that the chapter where you're like, "I am a professional actor now"?
Yeah, I think. Well, no, I was working. I gotta stop using.
I'm
that
so
word,
sorry.
lucky.
That's going to be an issue.
No, I
now.
like it though.
Right.
I like it. I started. I was earning quite. I was doing well in comparatively in the UK for a good 5 years before I went over there. I started working over there, but I was blowing all that money as a young man. I was enjoying myself, and then when I got to an age, I guess my early 30s, and I was working in America, I had enough to put a deposit down on a flat.
It sounds like, and it might not be the same individual, but it sounds like that agent played such a pivotal role in your career. Was it the same one through these chapters?
No, I've chopped and changed because agents are very hungry people, the good ones, and all of them are pretty good, the ones that make a living out of it.
Because I don't think there's an equivalent in a business sense.
No, there isn't. I mean, you need an agent as an actor because an agent is somebody that will do your bidding, obviously, and will find you the work, will find you the auditions, and you can't get on the phone and realistically say to a producer, "You need to pick me because I am the best actor in the world, and you need to pay me."
Of course you can't, because you'll come across like a sociopath.
You could come across like a sociopath. So your agent does that for you, and you pay them for that. But I chopped and changed because various agents along the way would get in touch with me directly or indirectly and say, "We think you're great and you should be X, Y, and Z." And I was young and green, and I would believe them. So
Is it always an exclusive one agent at a time
yeah.
relationship?
Well, no, you can have a UK and a US agent, but yeah, you can't have multiple agents.
I think it's going to come in our sector. So if you
Managers,
think about it,
maybe.
Well, yes, great point. So we'll come on to that in a sec. So did you have both at the same time?
I did. I used to have. There was a period where, and still, I guess, big movie stars have managers, business advisors, agents. They have a whole team around them. And in the time when I was working in the States, I had a manager that was taking his cut. I had a US agent. I had a UK agent. I was told that's what you needed because the more firepower out there working on behalf of you. And then it was a trap. Well, I don't think it was a trap, but it was a formula that a lot of actors fell into at that time. And then we very quickly realized actually the world is a much smaller place now, and UK agents can be lobbying for us in the US without having to have a counterpart there. So we kind of claimed that back a little bit because you're giving away 20% of your fee, or 25% of your fee actually, if you take on all these reps. So you can chop it in half, and
So we I think we've seen a proliferation across sport of managers and agents coming in, starting with football through rugby. Now professional cricketers have agents across the world. I think the talent that's running to AI and tech as an industry, and the talent that's running to the environment sector and natural capital is such that in 5-10 years, the most talented people in the sector will have agents and placement people that move them around, because it'll be salaries that are proportionate to what's there.
And a lot of it's performative, right? So if you're, I wish, I'm kind of looking in the market. I don't know whether they exist yet, but I would love. My agent is she is an acting agent. He and she, because I work together with her assistant as well, Miles. But they're theatrical agents. That's what they're called. I'm desperate to find somebody who can field the conservationist, the environmental side of my life, because I'm increasingly, which is great, being asked to talk at things, give talks, or go and help lobby for a project, or try and get a campaign off the ground, or maybe go and meet a sponsor who's interested in working with me. And I need somebody. It's very difficult to know which one to go with, because it's a market. It's a very what's the word? It's an emerging market. It's very disparate, and you need somebody to have their finger on the pulse and to do your bidding for you. Because I just say yes to everything because it's a passion. It's not. I don't see it as a commercial endeavor. But invariably, when it becomes commercialized, which if somebody wants you to speak at something and they're getting value, then perhaps you should get paid, and sometimes I do. But I'm so useless for asking and knowing how much to charge. And
maybe we need to spin out the first environmental creative agency in that way.
I reckon there's a gap in the market for that, for sure.
Our head of HR, head of people, PhD in performance psychology, and him and I have had these conversations, and I think they'll come. Let's have it on the list, El.
Stick it on the list. Honestly, I'm not. I mean, if there's one of me, there's lots of me. Certainly globally.
We had it this morning. Came off a panel. Lovely people, but they don't speak and flow as freely as I do. And it was like, oh, can you do this? You should do this. We need to get you on camera doing this. And it's like exactly the same principle. Can't say yes to them all.
No.
How do we narrow it down and choose? And how do we get to a point whereby the next generation coming through aren't doing it for free?
Yeah.
They're paying for it because they are really moving the needle.
Because they're moving the needle and they're getting the results. And I think that is so important. And I don't think everything should come for free, even in this space, because if you are getting results, then it will, like any market, it will balance, and you will get the right people in the right roles. And if that's more performative and more speech giving and front of house, should I say, then maybe there is a world where that should be commercialized a little bit, I think, just to get the quality that's needed.
Totally agree. Stage, screen, riverbank. Is there a world where they collide?
Well, yes, because I am that bridge. But yeah, I guess so.
I love the bridge over the river reference.
Yeah,
that was
literally,
nice. That was lovely.
Remember in the original Superman films, showing my age here, where the bridge gets blown up, a train bridge gets blown up, and he becomes the bridge. He lies down and oh man, gotta watch that scene. It's brilliant. I digress. So the bridge between.
Was there a crossover where it really started ramping up for you? Your interest in the environment, awareness, engagement in it?
Yeah, I can even remember, I can't remember the exact moment, but absolutely about 12, 13 years ago, I was, I'd been salmon fishing properly for about 5 years. And when I say salmon fishing, I'd be going up to Scotland as often as I could either afford to or time would permit. And standing in a river and casting at these elusive bastard fish that I love so much. And I was noticing, even in that short period of time, a real drop-off in the numbers. And I'd be asking gillies, and it's interesting, gillies, river keepers, there has been a bit of a shift in the last 10 years of generation of gillies, because the older lot are retiring or dying off, and so there are young guys and girls coming through. And the old lot were always told to say, no, everything's fine, the salmon are fine, I don't know what you're talking about, there are less here than there were last year. Oh, this is just cyclical, these aren't the droids you're looking for. It was kind of that.
Did you ever get the seal argument?
There's been a seal through the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that argument is true.
But so we've seen hundreds of estates across Scotland, right?
Yeah.
To buy 4 or 5 in Scotland. And every single time there's a river there, oh, so-and-so saw a seal in the harbour.
Yeah, clear.
Which is their reason for the fact there's no salmon.
know,
So this one seal would be the size of a house, like glutinous, destroying them all.
Just to counter that a little bit, this year was a terrible year for the salmon. Terrible year so far. Lots of seal, because the proliferation of seal, in the estuaries, because there's a lot of food for the seal. Arguably, they're being the salmon that are coming back, because the rivers are low a lot of the time. They're sitting in the estuaries and getting picked off by all these seal. But seal follow salmon 20 miles upriver if they're hungry, and a seal will clear an entire river. It will, they will scarper those salmon. So there is some truth to it. But you're right. That generation of ghillie would either blame it on something like that, or say, no, there's no problem. There's not a macro problem here. And then the younger crop started to come. I wasn't getting answers, basically, because I thought, no, this doesn't feel right. And then the younger crop started coming through. So I'm curious by nature, and I was asking them, what's going on with these fish? Why am I not even seeing them anymore? Oh, you should have been out last week, or you got to be here next week. All that guff that sometimes is true, because they're very conditional salmon. But the younger, more educated, perhaps more honest riverkeeper and anglers that I was suddenly mixing would say, no, have you not heard? There's a real issue with these fish. You need to talk to the Atlantic Salmon Trust, I think it was. So I started talking to people I knew there, or people that knew them, and my jaw just hit the ground. And
what do you think it's about your personality that doesn't just say, oh, okay, that's why, and actually starts pulling on that thread and wanting to understand?
I think perhaps this is where the acting comes in handy, because I have a bit of an acute sense of trying to find the truth and trying to.
That's nice, isn't it?
Well, I think so. Yeah, it's always
trying to find the truth in a performance,
or in a character that I'm trying. Yeah, a character that I'm trying to work on.
But inherently finding the truth in something that's untrue.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Absolutely, cutting through. And when I say bullshit, I don't mean that people are advertently or consciously lying to me. They're just regurgitating what they've been told, and then it becomes true because enough people say it's true, so therefore it's true. And I was just going, oh, this is bullshit. This is absolute not. And I can tell you don't even know what you're talking about. You think you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I did challenge them quite a lot, which didn't go down too well, but I can be quite.
I'm laughing because that's familiar. That's really familiar.
I go, bullshit. What do you mean? They're fine. This is just a blip. What proof have you got of that? Well, that's what. Why you are? What's the fucking problem, Jim? It becomes personal, and then you're like, okay,
because they hear you're attacking my identity.
Yeah, and you're accusing me of being a liar.
Yeah.
When I'm not. I'm accusing the fact that the thing that you're hiding. This thing that's coming out of your mouth that you think is a fact. That's what I'm challenging, not your delivery.
We hear it in grouse a lot. So we don't shoot for sport or anything like that. We do stock deer to control numbers on estates, but we don't stock game birds, nor do we shoot grouse. Every estate you go to, grouse numbers are down. Okay, so what do you do? Oh, we burn this, we medicate this, we poison this, we kill everything that's not a grouse. Oh, numbers are down, are they? Yeah. So what are you going to do this year? Well, that's the same thing again.
Same thing.
Yeah. Will that help? Oh, I'm sure it will. How many years have they been down for? Well, about 20 in a row. Okay, cool, great. Yeah. Same narrative every time. Every time.
It's the definition.
They're not lying though. These people genuinely believe that is the right thing to do because they've been taught it, and they've not gone explain more. They've not pulled on that. Mostly, as you say, the new generation. Yes, they're asking that additional question, but they didn't previous.
They're institutionalized, and of course, to go with the status quo is if there's money at stake. Sadly, then that's what a lot of them do, because the landowners, the fisheries will say, whatever you do, don't let the anglers know that there's problems with the salmon, because we'll lose them, and that's income. So I became more and more curious, and as I became more and more curious, I learned about the challenges that these fish were facing, and it just so happened at the same time, the graph, their demise got more and more acute. So it became more and more, it was an open secret before it then became open. And I thought, well, depending on what role I was playing in my acting career at the time, sometimes you're in a show that isn't very high profile. Sometimes you're in a show that's very high profile, and you get you do magazine articles or go on morning television or whatever it is, and people, rightly or wrongly, want your opinion on things. And I thought, well, if I'm going to bang on about something, as lots of actors do, it's probably not going to be about, I don't know, how long I spend in the gym or politics, or I'm not going to sell perfume or gin or all the things that actors can sometimes do, and that's their hustle. I thought, well, let's see. I'll just use whatever platform I'm given on any given day to talk about what I care about, which is the salmon, because nobody else knew about, even 5 years ago, nobody about rivers either. Nobody knew the state that our rivers were in. Nobody knew the state of the wild fish in general, but specifically wild Atlantic salmon. And I just felt like I needed to yell it like a clarion call as loudly as I could. I'd go home and tell my family about, the perils of eating farmed salmon and how it's farmed. Or did you know that most of the rivers, all the rivers, 90% of the rivers it was at the time in the UK are completely unhealthy, and because of X, Y, and Z, because of agriculture, because of the water and sewer.
Modified barriers to fish passage,
all that
weirs
stuff,
everywhere.
all that stuff. They were like, I had no idea. And I think that a lot of them thought maybe I was being a bit alarmist or being a bit overly vociferous about it. And then it came to light, didn't it? That suddenly the newspapers get hold of it and it becomes politicized, and they go, "Oh, what you said all along is true." And then all of a sudden, the press started to want to talk to me, because there aren't actually that many people that are willing to either put their head above the parapet and talk about the state of the rivers and be contrarian about water companies, pollution, whatever, and even fewer that. I'm not professing to be massively informed about it, but I did make sure that I went away and learned as much as I could and spoke to as many people as I could, and I went on courses and spent time with river keepers and read as many books and articles that I could about this topic, because if people were asking my opinion about it, and it might be informing other people's opinions, I should really be well versed.
It's so important that it isn't the scientists that are having that conversation, because being the expert doesn't make something accessible to people.
No.
So having a PhD means you know the top of the head of a pin about a subject. That is not a useful tool for communicating it to a wider audience. You need your skill set. You need that performative part of it. It's so funny, like hearing you play back some of the chapters of your story, you can see when you were working in Ted Baker, you were picking up the nuance of watching people, understanding what they wanted, how to...
And be confident.
How to engage with them, how to explain something, how to judge and view and interact with other people in different ways. And then there's the same skill set that you've added to all the way through to allow you to communicate better.
Yeah, and I think communication, I mean, a big part of acting is communicating or learning how to communicate without using words, for the sake of example, and finding the truth in that. And I think that does spill over. They're not the same skill set exactly, public speaking, but having a confidence within yourself and backing yourself and going, if I want to be good at something, and if I want to come off as being good at something and change people's opinions, because that's what you're doing as an actor. You're trying to get them to believe that you're not Jim Murray, you're somebody else, because they know that you're not really that person, but you need to change their opinion.
When you are performing, are you Jim Murray in your head, or are you that other person?
Gosh, that's such a... How long have you got? You are because a lot of most acting is in the preparation of that performance, right?
I don't think people realise that at all. I don't think it's a bit like people assume a tree's just a bit they can see above the ground. They don't understand the root systems there.
That's a great analogy, a great metaphor. Sorry, absolutely the amount. If you could, that's why you need that time. If you can get it, the luxury of time to prepare for a role, to figure out why a character behaves, thinks like he does, that then informs the dialogue that is on the page. All that stuff is where the work is. What you see, or what the audience see, whether it be on stage or on screen, is just the ends of that. It's the dying, burning embers of the fire that was going before you get to that point, because it should be so imbued and so automatic for you. And by automatic, I don't mean rote. I mean that when you get on that set and you're doing your 2 minutes that you've got to convey that story, emotion, truthfully, all the work you've done before means that you can just listen and be free in the moment and be informed by the prep that you've already done. And there's the work. The work isn't this bit.
Yeah.
That's just listening.
When I'm asked, do you ever get nervous about talking and performing? The answer is no, because I'm ready.
Because you're ready.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. And I think that's where, a lot of, and my daughter's 16 and...
Is she going to follow your footsteps?
No, thank God. Well, she might. She's very good.
So, do you mean that as
Yeah,
well?
I do
you
mean that. I do mean that because it's a very different landscape now, and it's so competitive, and so many people are actors. Anyone can be an actor, or in as much as you don't have to have any sort of PhD or masters or license. Anyone can wake up tomorrow and say they're going to be an actor. And it's so saturated as a market and so competitive and so in many areas starved of artistry and creativity at the moment. Let's hope that the the pendulum swings back the other way. That I wouldn't want her to go into a very, very, very challenging business.
Will the cream still rise to the top anyway?
Maybe, but it could take some years. And the years of struggle are really challenging, and I don't think it's as easy for someone to go out and get any old job at the moment whilst they patiently wait to see if they will ever achieve their dream. But if she, just to counter that, if she had, and you'll hear every actor say this, if she had this burning desire and she couldn't do anything else and it was keeping her up at night and it was a vocation and it was a calling, then I would absolutely say, get out there and I'll help you with whatever way I can, because what else am I going to do as a father? But only if it is that, not if it's like, well, I might give acting a go because it looks like a laugh and you become really rich and famous. That's not the right way to get into this game.
And when did it become a podcast? When did that start?
When did I start hosting?
Yeah,
Well,
so you'd gathered your learning, you were understanding terms, you were speaking, you were effectively starting to share and coach and teach and be an advocate for the issue.
Well, here's the thing that I missed out, actually, that I often forget about, and I don't know why I do, because I'm really proud of it. Just before the pandemic, and it wasn't, so therefore it wasn't anything to do with the pandemic, I was waiting to hear from my agent about whether a second series of a show that I was doing was going to go or not. And I wasn't allowed to work or commit to anything else, because that's sometimes what happens. They sign you up for a chunk of time. And it was...
Are you paid in that period? Kind of a retainer style
Kind
setting.
of and kind of not. I mean, in this instance, I don't think I was actually, but they're buggers. They'll say, it's probably going to go again, so don't commit to anything, but we can't...
Kind of a bit like gardening leave, but
without
return
pay.
date.
Yeah. So I thought, well, I just cannot sit at home, and there is a lot of waiting around as an actor. At least, where I am in my career, I work and it's great, but there are months that go by where I don't work, and I'm somebody that can't just sit around and relax.
I know that feeling well.
Yeah. So I thought I need to do something. And this was before the activism and the conservation work really kicked off. So I went to see a life coach who was in my local town, and it was a walk-in first free session. So I just walked in.
How did we find out about them?
I just walked past the door, and it says life coach, free session. So I just put my head in, and there's this great woman, and I said, are you free now? She went, yeah. So I went and sat with her because I'm curious, and an hour later I walked out and I was buzzing. I sat down with her and she said, "So what do you want to explore today?" I was like, I don't know. And she went, "Well, what made you come in?" And it just went from there. And she was asking these really incisive questions, but without making me feel like I was under the spotlight. It just felt very conversational. Yet her style of questioning, and I came out with some real clarity on a few issues that I didn't even know I necessarily had. And she made me feel really empowered and really proactive. And I went and did wrote some great emails off the back of that. And I just couldn't get this session out of my head. So I thought, I want to do that. I want to have a go at doing that. So I Googled life coach courses, because this is kind of this is what my head does. And I go down a rabbit warren, and I found this company, great company called Animas. and they teach. You get a diploma in life coaching, but it's a commitment. It's a financial commitment, and it's also a time commitment. I think it took 10 months, and I was one of the quickest to ever get the diploma. And I'd have to come into London when I wasn't filming and go to Regent's Park University and learn the skill of life coaching. And I did. And then you have to get 100 hours under your belt to get to the next level. And I did. And then the pandemic hit, and we got this my agent, who represents a lot of actors, or the agency does, Artist Partnership, they sent this wonderful letter out to all actors saying, you're fucked for the next however many months. No one's going to be working. The world is going to stop. Really sorry. We're here. Pastoral care if you need us. But good luck. It was a nice way of saying, forget about acting for any sort of career for the foreseeable. So I thought, shit, there might be an opportunity here. So I asked the head agent, Roger Charteris, if I could perhaps piggyback on this newsletter that there was going to be sent out once a week about things that actors can do, websites they can visit, etc., etc. And I said, here's my coaching marketing blurb. I will give 3 free lessons to anybody that wants to, come and be coached. And I can coach around acting or being an actor, should I say. Didn't think anything of it. My God, I
felt a bit generous with the response I bet you got.
I did.
Yeah.
In hindsight, because for the first month of that pandemic,
you were full, right?
I was full, and there was so much, understandably, anxiety from actors, and especially younger actors who just felt like they were getting going, and this big pandemic had come in, and it was just going to cut them off at the knees. So I started coaching them, life coaching them, transformational coaching it was. And then some of them became clients, and then they told their friends, this is how coaching worked. And it was really great. I was really busy. And then the pandemic stopped, and I got work straight away as an actor. And I couldn't commit to these clients of mine, sadly, with any authenticity and being a good
Did you
coach.
think about just pivoting and doing the...
No, I never did. I just thought it would be a great thing to do alongside and be a supplementary career.
That's a complete standalone business, surely.
It is. And I learned that the hard way. I thought, well, maybe I could dip into it for the 2 months that I'm not working, or 6 months, or 6 weeks, or whatever. Or maybe I can do it on set, because there's a lot sitting around on film sets, and, you're only doing an hour or a couple of hours a session at a time. But it's more than that. You need to be available.
I'd hate film sets, wouldn't I? Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
A lot of people do. I can't. I've learned now to use the time productively. But
Do you read?
Yeah, I used to read a lot, but I used to, as a young actor, used to drive me mad, all the sitting around.
I guess you have to practice, because, you are embodying that character, that new truth you've found, while sat reading something that's completely nothing to do with it. Oh, right, you now need to come and do this again.
But
so that's
the distraction,
context switching.
The distraction is good. It's when you're sat in your trailer, as a lot of young actors do, and are just poring over the words and trying to stay in character and getting themselves properly wound up, that by the time they get to set, they're just nervous balls of nonsense, ectoplasm.
You can't manage energy that way. So we used to have American football, there'd be coaches that rocked up and would try and make you angry for 4 hours, because from warm-up to the end of the game is like 4 hours. That's not a good, if you're angry for 4 hours, you're dumping the adrenaline in the first 15 minutes. You need to...
It's exhausting, and it's not good for you. It's not good for performance. But in the same breath, you're in a trailer, so it's a small, confined space, and they don't want you going out and going for a walk,
because if they can't find you, it wrecks their schedule.
And also, sometimes you're dressed, in an antisocial way, shall we say? You're not, you might get unwanted attention out on the street, so you are confined to your playpen. And it can be a little bit frustrating. But
how do you feel the time now?
Well, now, Christ, there's so much time. There's never enough time to be answering all the emails.
Yeah, life admin.
Life admin, but running a charity, but also all this river salmon. I have so many bloody email files. River, salmon, river action.
Do you have a PA?
No, I don't have a PA. I should have a PA, but I'm quite good doing it myself, or so I think.
I used to think that.
But I'm not. I don't, because I spend hours.
So you do have a PA, it's you.
It's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then
It's not a very cost-effective PA.
it's not a very cost-effective PA. And actually, I'm very lucky. There's some people around me that either work for the charity or else now that I'm deputy chair River Action, the people that work there.
You meant that one as well. That look was honest.
It is because I don't pay them.
Do you?
And they field a lot of my admin.
Shout out to everyone at River Action and James, love you.
Yeah.
Do you best take information, a physical written book, a Kindle, an audio book? If you were going to consume it, do you have a preferential method?
All of it. I'm scatterbrained.
Okay.
I have 3 books on the go at any one time. One's an audio book.
I love that.
One's on my Kindle because that's what I read when I wake up in the middle of the night, so it doesn't wake anybody up. Turn the light on, and then I've got a hard copy book. And normally the hard copy book is the relaxed book if I'm on holiday.
I never liked organisation. I prefer to think freely when I can be chaotic and creative and things like that. But I've learned the right systems and processes allow me to do that. So I've adopted a lot of his systems and processes. In the last year, I've hired the most incredible PA. For a long while, I resisted it and said, no, don't need it. And then I was becoming a bottleneck to the team, and the team were like, no. Like I would get back to them as soon as I physically got to an email. But if I was up a mountain in Scotland, it was 4 hours with no phone signal.
Yeah.
So that I was becoming a problem. I felt having a PA was kind of decadent and unnecessary,
That's
and
what
I should do it.
That's what I think.
Yeah, we're being stupid.
Are we being
yeah.
northern and I'm not putting northern and stupid in the same sentence, you southern judges.
We need to spin the camera on this. There are stitches behind the camera.
Yes,
It's a bit like so our head of operations, when he had his second child, got into Drive to Survive, and he was like, right, I'm now a big Formula One fan. Rang me, he's like, you have to watch this, I've got someone to talk to about it. So we all got into Formula One. And in both Adrian Newey's book, The Incredible Designer, and Ross Brawn, they both kind of put in there, and then I got a driver and it made me massively more efficient. But they're both embarrassed about the fact they got drivers. These people earn £3 or £4 million a year.
Yeah.
And they were embarrassed about having a driver. In what other context, if someone was earning that much an hour, would you be willing to let them drive?
Do you know what I mean?
But we think a PA is decadent. We think things like that are a bad idea.
We do, don't we? And now there are virtual assistants, and it's something that's so easy. But my concern, my resistance to that is that initial conversation going, right, will you be my PA? And this is what my life is. And having to somehow take the hard drive of my head and put it on their desk and go, right, run that hard drive for me.
I would have said the exact same thing. Then you meet the person, and all of a sudden, that's how they see the world, and it makes you better.
Yeah.
And actually, you allow them to adjust your system a bit because they make you better, and you're like, oh yeah, that is better.
How many hours a week do you have a PA?
Oh, full time.
You have a full-time PA?
Yeah.
Wow. And they not here? You're not. That's none of you lot.
No,
right?
no. She's up in Stockport, and
she's in Stocky.
Completely remote in terms of that.
That's where I used to score weed.
Speak.
Sorry.
Other cities are available. Towns. So we speak every morning. She sends up a wrap-up email at the end of the day, but constantly back and forward on WhatsApp, and it's integrated into life. So she'll talk to my wife about things when there's a parents' evening or something like that. It makes me 10 times more efficient.
Does it?
Actually, what I hadn't realised was my wife was like biggest benefit for us, because I was spending 20 hours a week being my own PA in evenings and weekends, which now the family have got back some of that. They haven't got all of it. I'm not saying I put 20 hours back. I'm still working all the time. But they've got some of that back.
And you're doing more productive things. I know, I need it. I need to do it. And I keep saying I will. Next acting job, when I'm going to have to be spending a disproportionate amount of time working on a role or whatever, then that's when I'll do it. But it's one of those things.
If you do, give us a shout. We'll help you in terms of the recruitment.
Yeah, I'd love help.
And you say a lot of no's. It's like everything. You'd be really picky. We had 350 something applicants for PA role. Final 3 candidates were the Lady Louise, who we chose. The middle candidate was an actress who'd just been in House of Dragon, and she was batshit crazy. Like the most amazing person to talk to, but just loved our business, didn't want to be a PA, just loved our business. Elle wanted her because she was crazy and creative, but couldn't have done the job.
Right.
And the next person we ended up hiring to the HR function because she was brilliant and so organised and things. So being really selective about that. And
yeah, I think so.
You'd have an amazing advert, like all the different bits you work on.
I know.
You'd get an amazing array of candidates.
Do you not worry that people might just wrongly assume it's going to be really glamorous and...
No, because you talk that away. So you say, look, you don't want this job. I lead a chaotic lifestyle. I'm a mad actor who's also a passionate environmentalist. I really care about these things.
I will be calling you at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I'm really uncomfortable at having a PA. I'm going to be a pain in the ass to work with. But the thing about that advert is, who doesn't see that on LinkedIn and goes, that's different? Because everything else is just dull.
Yeah.
So
Is that where you advertise, LinkedIn?
Yeah, we occasionally will promote something we'll pay for, but outside of that, just LinkedIn, authentic reach, which is why our whole approach to, I write every week and publish a newsletter that goes out to nearly 10,000 people. First book came out last week. The podcast is 100 and something episodes.
Is that your book?
Yeah. Kindly sponsored by Triodos. Thank you guys. Appreciate that.
Amazing.
So that's what I do in my downtime. I don't have a trailer, but when we're traveling to and from estates and things,
you write.
I write to process what I think.
Yeah.
So has anyone ever asked you how you think? How a thought moves through your mind?
No.
So mine, it's nice, right?
Yeah.
We've got an amazing
I love
board
the word
member.
how.
He thinks in like waves. He's like James Bond, this guy. Really like suave and doesn't rush anything. And if he says a thought, it's been perfectly formed and it's delivered complete. Abby, who works in Elle's team, she says she thinks like a tube map. She's like an engineer. It's got absolute decision points straight. Firework display in my head. You give me an idea, it fucks off in 20 directions, and I have to try and grab one of them, and then that one goes off in 20.
Brightest one,
And it's like, which one should I pick? When I write, I have to pick. And I stay on a subject because it makes me decide what I actually think. Because I can give you 10 smart-ass answers to everything. I don't know which one I really believe.
Yeah.
So that makes me think about what I believe.
You're a quick thinker.
Yeah, speed of thought.
Yeah.
Is that why you don't sleep very well?
Yeah.
You got
How
quiet
did
in
you
your
know
brain?
I don't sleep well?
Because you've got a Kindle that you look at in the early hours.
Yeah, you have. Gosh, you should be a detective. I fall asleep like that. I wake up at stupid o'clock.
So I fall asleep straight away if I'm listening to something. And I didn't sleep well before I had a challenging job. When I had crappy jobs, my brain just wasn't saturated enough. Now I go to sleep tired.
I think there's a lot in that. If I've not had a productive day, my brain wakes me up very early the next morning and punishes me and starts thinking and going, what are you going to do today? You should do that. Why don't you do that? Well,
Oh, you talk about your brain as being separate as well.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, so do I. People think that's weird.
Well,
but like, I thank my brain for stuff sometimes. I'm like, thanks, brain, appreciate that. When it gives you a thought, that you're like, where did that come?
I admonish mine a lot.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, in a tough love northern way, not in a sort of. I don't think in a any sort of. Or maybe I do. Maybe it's not healthy, but I do admonish it when it wakes me up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
You tried rather than the admonishment, going, "What are you trying to tell me or give me?"
Yeah. Well, I do that, but then I end up getting up and acting on it.
They do say that. They do say if you do wake up, you should get up and go do something.
I know, but then I'm sort of like that. Not all the time.
Yeah.
I found a weird hack recently, and I don't know whether I'm sure it's psychosomatic.
You'll have to talk to Dan about this because he doesn't sleep.
Really?
Yeah.
I've started taking peppermint pills, which is just digestion pills, right? That's all they are. I didn't even know they existed. It's just concentrated peppermint in a pill. So it's not a sleeping pill, and I take it, and then I don't wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So maybe it's a digestive, because they say your peak digestion is around that time.
Mate, I could do this for hours.
That's great,
it's
isn't it? Yeah.
I want to talk about the podcast.
Yes.
So
Salmon.
life coaching, which I love. I think you're going to go back to that chapter at some point.
I might do.
There's such a call, especially if you. So you're giving me a wonderful, very kind window into your world.
Yeah.
It is screaming for you to wear that hat for a period of time because so many people struggling with the sector and how it's behaving and the culture. But to understand it, to work in it, to give people advice, you have to have lived it and understand it.
Yeah.
I know the theory that anyone can coach. They can, but Pep Guardiola is the best football coach in the world because he was a really fucking good footballer as well. It does make a difference. You don't have to be. I couldn't go coach actors to the same degree you can about life.
Right.
So I think there's a massive niche for you to...
Well, there is, and it's not the world of coaching. I mean, sort of holistic coaching, life coaching, transformational coaching is we're only just getting started with it, and in America it's much more progressed. I really enjoyed it. And I loved seeing an instant change in someone by using language that is just incisive and not using really simple tricks. Never use the word why. Always use the word how if you can, or what I'm hearing, and all these things that you aren't part of our language, but actually
It's called tactical empathy.
tactical empathy. That's another word for it. Incisive questioning. Keep it simple.
Do you know who Chris Voss is?
Yeah.
The FBI, former chief
Yeah.
hostage
Yeah,
negotiator
yeah,
for the FBI.
Yeah.
Very similar styling with that.
Yeah.
Sounds like. And
Sounds like what I'm hearing.
When a hostage would say something, he'd be like, how can I do that? I want a helicopter here in 10 minutes. How do I do that?
How do I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's never why. Never ask why. It's too generic. It's too
It's
ephemeral.
challenging.
It's challenging. It's confrontational. So just, part of when we were just studying, we'll get onto the podcast in a sec, but when I was studying coaching, I just remember thinking the elegance in the simplicity of the words that they suggest you use, and try and keep a question as simple and elegant as possible, and don't use compound questions, all these things. And then you try them out on people, even in conversations at home, and play with volume and speed and all the rest of it. And you can see someone open up like a flower. It's really, really powerful.
You're just describing all my tools and techniques in the podcast.
Learning all this information that was coming fast and furiously about salmon and about rivers, and I didn't know what to read and who to talk to and who to listen to and which threads to pull on. And I was struggling with that, and I didn't. It was the answer was staring me in the face, of course, but I didn't. It wasn't me. To Dara's credit, it wasn't me that suddenly had a light bulb moment and went, "Let's do a podcast," for the reasons that you've just brilliantly said, because you get to learn.
When he points up, can we put a link to his podcast above when you
The
pointed up?
Last Salmon.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm doing it. I'm giving you that.
Neon.
Because and so Dara Whelan, this wonderful Irish. I'd never heard of Dara, but I'd heard his podcast. He hosted a podcast. He hosts a podcast called Island on the Fly, and it's very niche and it's beautiful. And it's the Irish accent to me is like honey, and it.
Well, you can do one as long as you're trying to be Scottish, right?
As long as I'm trying to be Scottish. If you ask the head of Fox Studios, I'm very Irish. Dara got in touch with me and said, "Do you want to? I love what you do. Would you consider? I've got this great idea. Would you consider hosting a podcast called The Last Salmon?" And I was like, "That's just fucking brilliant. That's great. Oh my god, that's exactly what I need to be doing. To collate all this information, to have access to the people that I want access to, but it's difficult. Podcasts open so many doors because people want to go on podcasts for whatever reason, and that's what, and especially when you've got a producer who's doing all that stuff.
The hard work. Shout out to Penny, thank you.
Shout out to Penny. All that stuff is so important. The producers, the unsung heroes that do all the behind the scenes, all the communicating, all the brokering, all the directions, to the corralling of cats, getting people on in front of that microphone. It's tough. And Dara does that, and together we sort of curate guests because it's very niche, The Last Salmon, or so we thought. It was exactly that. We were going to do a podcast about the plight of the Atlantic salmon, and originally, in his mind, it was geared towards the low-hanging fruit that is salmon anglers, and there is a big world out there of fly anglers and salmon anglers crying out for a podcast that didn't exist. There was no other thing in the space. And then we found very quickly our first guest was Yvon Chouinard from Yvon Chouinard, founder of Patagonia, incredible man, great thinker. And we thought we must be on something here, because it's just, you can't get hold of it. This is a funny story. You can't get hold of Yvon Chouinard.
No.
He doesn't have a phone. He doesn't have an email address, right? He is off grid. He doesn't care for modern technology. So when Dara said, "Why don't we go for Yvon Chouinard?" I asked a few people that might know him, and they said, "You'll never get hold of him. But the only way you can get hold of Yvon, a friend of a friend of a friend of mine knows the address of one of his properties. He's got a few, but he's not a man. He's worth lots of money, and he couldn't care less for material wealth or goods. He's very, very simple living. Anyway, and he's 80-something, and he just spends his life fly fishing, going around the world and helping businesses and advising and campaigning for massive conservation campaigns over in the States. Anyway, they said, I'll give you one of his two addresses. One's in New Zealand, one's in California. This is what we were told. And you have to write to him by hand. So I wrote a letter And then it becomes challenging because you want to give your email address and your website and all your digital backup is you need a computer to check someone out nowadays, right? Or to sell yourself, and you've got to write all those things down. So you're writing your email address down by hand. You're writing www.https/www. You know, you've got to get all that right because you're thinking of, well, if he's not computer literate. Anyway, I wrote this letter. I sent it off. I thought, well, you've got to try. And 6 weeks later, in my inbox was one of his assistants. Said, hi, this is Yvonne's assistant. He'd love to come on. He loves the idea. And as soon as we had him on and we got chatting to him, we knew we were onto something.
Remote recording, or did you go to
Yeah,
him?
all of ours are remote recording, which it's great that you guys do this because face-to-face is so much more valuable. And we have had a few face-to-face, but it's difficult.
We've said no so far to all of them because we really like the feel, the quality of everything.
I offered actually. It's you're right, and that's what sets you apart. And this, because of who you are and how you podcast and how your conversational skills, I think that would be a lot of that would be compromised through a screen. So may I suggest you continue to do this?
You've got agreement at the back of the room, like.
I think I would love to do that, but some of the people I talk to, we do get, scientists and.
I think for Yvonne Chenard, we'd make an exception. No, do you know what? We'd go to him if he would have us. We'd go to him.
And he would.
Yeah.
You should definitely reach out to him.
We do like writing a letter. When you're saying about the letter, we for special things we will write a letter on a seeded notepaper that actually works, because a lot of the seeded planting notepaper doesn't work.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you get a really good PA. So we have a seeded notepaper, heavyweight, that we send out, and it goes with a wax seal with an OC logo on the back of the
Mine's
envelope.
obviously in the post.
Well, I was literally thinking, when we send you your book, it'll have to go with a lovely thank you letter.
Yeah.
But how nice is it now to get a letter?
It's great.
No one gets 300 letters in their door every
No.
well, maybe they do, but I don't. 300 emails.
It's nice to get a letter that that isn't a bill or a
tax,
or something, but you recognise those straight away, don't you? Or a speeding fine, or something from the NHS saying you've got to have some terrible, I don't know, whatever.
With men of a certain age.
You men of a certain age. Sorry, yes, northern men of a certain age. I got to drop that. I'm being so.
No, I quite like, because it's usually me, so I'm not going to get in trouble. Which is a beautiful segue onto the fact that I've asked like a quarter of the questions I wanted to.
Yeah.
I've genuinely adored our time together. Thank you so much for being so open, honest, engaging, and just fun.
That's fine, mate. That's fine.
We have to do a part 2 at some point.
I'd love to.
Come up to Scotland. We've got some rivers.
Yes.
Come up. Go fishing with Dan. Let's do part 2. We'll host
do a
you in Scotland.
From the riverbank. We want to do more of that.
Let's do Dorback in the Cairngorms. So we're beautifully up there. Incredible salmon stretches.
Which river?
I want to say Spey. It's a Spey catchment initiative up there. Yeah, it is.
So where on the Spey, do you know?
So we're in a place it's in the Cairngorms National Park. Dorback is the estate. It's right near Aviemore.
Yeah, well, you're at the top then. Yeah. So you'll be in spawning territory there. So we wouldn't really want to fish there because we'd be catching...
Time of the year?
End of the season.
Yeah.
But we could go and look at spawning fish. That would be interesting.
I'll let you and Dan decide when and where we go. We can drop down into Perthshire at Invergeldy.
That might be better.
We've got a beautiful hidden lock sat on the top of a mountainside that's got Xerox in there. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
I do have one more question that I always end the podcast on. What's the one question, or with me and you, probably several, what's the question I haven't asked you wish I had?
Oh, golly. That's a really good question. I'd love to talk to you more. It's not a specific question, but I would definitely love to talk to you more because of your background, because of your brain. Feels quite similar to mine in many respects. I'd love to talk to you more about some solutions that we could be working on generationally and also individually for matters that are very close to our heart.
We had a couple of points through where I almost stopped you and started talking about your views about being a father and a husband. I think we could have had
we could have gone on that, but I want to. It'd be great to sort of almost collaborate with you with some salmon work or some river work or something. I can't quite see what that is.
There, isn't it?
It's definitely there, mate. Because you're at that energy. It's like looking in the mirror sometimes. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to. I'm a little older than you. You look
famous actor. I'll take it.
Yeah,
that'll do.
But it feels, we have similar.
It's a northern man thing again.
It's a northern thing. Yeah.
Jim, thank you. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
I've had a great time.
Really appreciate it.
What a lovely
Thanks,
podcast
guys.
that was.